This is what we will create to understand the kit of Cipher as simple and as quick as possible, so you never forget how she works ever again. And I bet for now, looking at this, it looks like gibberish for you. But if you actively take part in creating this flow of Cipher's kit, everything will make sense immediately. And whenever you forget anything about her kit, you can just have a look at this and all the memories of her kit will pop up right there and then how she works. So let's start. The most important thing you want to do with Cipher is increase her tally, which is this thing right here. But why do you want to increase it? Well, when you ult with Cipher, the damage of this ult will be more. Since for every tally she has, she will do like 1k more damage, as in true damage actually. So then the question arises, how do we make sure that we can increase the tally of Cipher? Well, for that, we need to do non-true and non-overflow damage. Since when you do this, Cipher's tally will increase. And non-overflow damage is basically that extra damage you do when an enemy's HP has already been reduced to 0. So if an enemy has like 100k HP and you overkill him with 1 million HP, only that 100k HP will be used to increase the tally. And non-true damage because otherwise Cipher's ult would like skill infinitely, since it is regarded as true damage. But unfortunately for us, not all the damage will be converted into tally damage, since only 12% of it will be used of the damage we have dealt. But not always 12, since there are a couple of factors which influence this percentage. Since first of all, it will only convert 12% of the damage we have done into the tally if the enemy has this patron state on their head. So that means we want to apply this patron state on the enemy, because then the non-true and non-overflow damage we deal to the enemy, 12% of it will be converted into the tally. But if the enemy does not have this patron state on their head, then only 8% of that damage dealt will be converted into the tally. But luckily for us, if Cipher has 170 speed, which we want to have, so it is a must basically. If this is the case, then the amount of damage that will be converted into tally will be doubled. So if you have 170 speed on Cipher, when you deal non-true, non-overflow damage to an enemy which has patron, then 24% of the damage will be converted into tally. But if the enemy has no patron on their head, then just 16% will be converted into the tally. And another nice bonus by having 170 speed with Cipher is that Cipher gets 50% crit rate, which is always appreciated. But okay then, now the question of course arises, how do we make sure we apply this patron state on the enemy to begin with? So we can get as much tally as possible when we deal damage to the enemies. Well, luckily for us, first of all, if there are no enemies with patron, then the enemy with the highest HP will get patron applied on their head just automatically at start of combat basically. The other two ways are, when you skill or ultimate with Cipher, the main enemy you have selected will get the patron on their head, since it's a blast attack both of them. But the cool thing with Cipher skill is this though. The 3 enemies you have attacked will have a chance to get a debuff which reduces their damage dealt. Plus, Cipher will just get 30% attack for free, which is always appreciated. Oh, and by the way, of course, the tally will be reset when you use it when you cast Cipher's ult. So now we see the main flow of Cipher, how she works fundamentally. The idea is just to apply patron onto the enemies. Luckily for us, the enemy with the highest HP automatically gets the patron on their head. And whenever we deal non-true or non-overflow damage to that enemy with Cipher or anyone else in the team, a portion of the damage will get converted into the tally, which will then increase our ultimate damage. But there is a thing with Cipher's ultimate, and that's that it actually consists of like 3 parts. And that is that it first deals normal damage to the selected enemy, and then like 25% of the tallied true damage to that enemy, and then like 75% of that tallied true damage distributed among the 3 enemies. But all it actually comes down to is that the more tally you have, the more damage the 3 enemies will get, and the select enemy will get the most damage. That's it. But there is also one other cool thing about Cipher, and it's that when you attack an enemy which has patron on their head with any other ally, then what will happen is that Cipher will just do automatically follow attack against that enemy, which can be triggered again after 1 turn of Cyphers. So basically you want to attack patron enemies at least once every turn of Cyphers, so she can do that follow-up attack for free. And that attack with other ally, if it is a non-true, non-overflow damage, then it can of course count towards the tally gain. And another cool thing about Cipher is that when she just exists, so when she is on the field, what will happen is that all enemies will just take 40% increased damage just for free, which is always appreciated of course. And at last we got the last noteworthy thing about Cipher, her crit, and that is that Cipher's technique also increases the tally by a little bit. Since when you attack enemy when she has activated her technique, like 200% of the damage dealt when you enter the battle will be converted into tally, which is pretty nice. It gives a couple of tally points for free. But the real cool thing about her technique is that it also gives some consumables when you walk beside enemies when she's in this state, which could be nice for new players starting out the game, since she may give some nice consumables to help you in the Divergent universe, Simulator universe, or in the open world, for when you need that little bit of damage or survivability, depending on which consumable you got, of course. It may help you, but for endgame players, I highly doubt they even use consumables. And then the last thing we got is Cypher's relics and light coins, of course, but for that I just recommend you to go to Pride 1. They have a beautiful list there for which you can use when. Everything is explained neatly there, but for me, I'm just gonna go for the 4-piece Brilliant Stars and the 2-piece Glamour, which has light coin, the resolution one. Sure, there may be some better relics here and there, but I just want to put relics on her from which I know I have good substats on, and then never look at her build ever again, since I know I will be playing her against quantum weak enemies. But for you, just choose whichever relic set suits your needs. So I thank you for paying attention and see you next time. Bye.